everyone, I am Shazla Grace Mitokwa Barangan, and today we'll be discussing the CEDULA personal task, also known as the poll task in the Philippines. This task has a long and complex history, and understanding it can give us insight into our nation's past and present.
So what exactly was the cedula? The cedula personal was a certificate of identification and a poll task. During the Spanish and early American colonial periods, every adult Filipino was required to have one. Think of it as a combination of a task receipt and a mandatory ID card. But the cedula was much more than just a piece of paper. It served multiple purposes. First and foremost, it was a proof of identity. You needed it for pretty much everything, from basic transactions to any interaction with the authorities. More significantly, it was a key tool for colonial control. It allowed the Spanish to track, control, and most importantly, extract revenue from the native population. Let's rewind a bit. The Spanish didn't just invent the cedula out of thin air. It evolved from earlier, more rudimentary tribute system like the tributo and polos y servicios. These were essentially taxes and forced labor obligations that the Filipinos were subjected to. The switch to the cedula in 1884 represented a more systematized way for the Spanish to collect taxes and manage the population. Now, here's where the cedula darker sides comes in. The cedula imposed several burdens on the Filipino. There was forced labor, often under harsh conditions. There was blatant economic exploitation. The system allowed for pervasive social control, and crucially, there was no representation for the Filipinos in how these taxes were spent. The cedula was also what we called a regressive task. This means that everyone, rich or poor, paid the same amount. This disproportionately hurt the poor, further exacerbating economic hardship. And if you couldn't produce your cedula when asked, well, you could face severe penalties, including forced labor, fines, or even imprisonment. It was a coercive system that designed to keep the Filipino under control. Now, let's consider the bigger picture. Taxation in the Philippines, including cedula system, has had a profound and lasting impact on Filipino society. On the one hand, revenue from taxes did fund some infrastructure projects and public service, and supported a certain level of national development and governance. But on the other hand, these taxes, particularly the cedula, triggered resistance revolts, and because they were often seen unfair and excessive, they also contributed to economic disparities and widespread social unrest. Taxation has always been a cornerstone of governance in the Philippines, from colonial times to the modern era. It has shaped our nation's progress. During the Spanish era, taxation was intertwined with colonial rule. Practices like pamanhikan had roots in tribute. The system ng tributo was imposed by the Spanish, marking the beginning of formalized taxation under colonialismo Espanyol. The American era brought new priorities with taxation, fueling education infrastructure. Funds collected through taxes supported education at infrastructura, vital for national development during the Commonwealth ng Pilipinas. Today, we see taxation involving digitalization and globalization. digitalisasyon at pag-unlad are transforming tax collection. With pamahalaang makabago and the impact of globalization, our tax system continues to adapt to modern challenges. From the Spanish era to today, taxation remains a cornerstone of governance, driving the Philippines forward. So, where are we now? From the early tributo to today's value-added tax, the evolution of taxation in the Philippines reflect our ongoing journey towards a more efficient and hopefully more equitable society. The quest for fairness in taxation remains constantly changed.
That's all for today. Thank you for joining me in this historical journey. I hope that you find it insightful. Until next time.